Welcome to the A-Train Show. And now here's your host, the A-Train, Arlington Lane.
Welcome to this edition of the A-Train Show, the A-Train. Coming up on the program, I'll have lawyer and legal instructor Dominique Hinson. As you know, I'm in the beautiful city of Houston, Texas, and she's also down here in Houston as well. And we're going to touch a bit on everything that's been going on in her life. Definitely want to hear about her career and, you know, how she's also developed to help people that want to be lawyers, future lawyers and whatnot. So I'm going to get into that. I'm not going to waste any time, though, because I'm ready to hear from her. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. I don't want to waste any time, man. So ladies and gentlemen, coming on the show right now is legal instructor and lawyer herself, the one and only Dominique Hinson.
Hello. Well, good. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. You know, before I get into the whole conversation, I got to give a shout out to Gary P. Beasley, because that's how I got acquainted with Dominique. Is we did a mini movie, a play for her, and Dominique was kind enough to one of the actors in the play, and I played the enemy. And then there was Angel Denise Washington. Shout out to Denise as well.
Yeah, I played a crackhead, so.
He did right. It wasn't a speaking part, but you know, she did her thing.
I moved, you know, I had my moves.
Yeah, I remember that night. That night, I was like, okay, so this is what I need you to do. And she was listening too. She was like trying to make sure, like, okay, where I need to be. Like, all right, so you sit right there in the middle. You be right there, and you just lay there. And I'm gonna walk around and I'm gonna attack you and all that kind of stuff. Oh man, we had a ball. It was long.
Unexpectedly fun experience.
They're gonna kill me for that. I already know it because I'm like, we expected to go on a little earlier, you know, and I was trying to get out. I was trying to scoot my way out, but I was patient enough, you know, to help her out because I know she needed it. And when I did the mini movie with her, I played that same role. Things happened, but I'm not gonna get into all of that. But the thing was, I was able to get acquainted. With Dominique, and she was amazing. Like, she did a great job. Like,
thank you. That was my actress debut. that was my first time on stage.
Yeah. And so as I know we had spoken then, and I found out that you was doing a podcast over at KCOH, and tell our viewers how you kind of got into that realm and how you got across with Jerry P. Beasley.
So I met JP because one of my very good friends and mentees is an attorney who works with Mr. Hall, and so brought me on air a couple of years ago, actually, when we talked about elections, talked about a couple different things, and they brought me back on air another time, and that's how I got connected with Jerry. And I came back on air. At this point, I already had a podcast, and I had she'd asked me what was my vision. What did she ask? She said, what is your vision? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I said, well, I see myself with this podcast, but I also see myself teaching in the community, teaching young people how to find their voice, teaching people how to advocate for themselves, advocate for other people, bringing more educational opportunities to our community. And she's like, well, you can do that here. We love you here. You can come here. And that's how I got connected with her. And she and I had a little show that was like every Friday with 3 other young people. And it was called The New School Perspective. And that was really fun because, you know, when you're working with Jerry P. Beasley, you're going to grow. She's going to instill some new skills in you. And so she really primed me for radio. She really taught me how to connect with an audience, how to answer questions on the spot. You know, she's never holding any bars. So if she wants to know it on air, you got to answer it. And she finds ways to pull a lot of honesty out of people.
Oh my goodness.
It was like a real boot camp for me. Like, all right, you think you want to be someone who's on air and you want to be online and you want to give commentary and talk, like no better training than to have to be a consistent guest on her show. Because she's going to ask questions, you know, and she's going to expect real answers, and she knows where to keep probing, where to pull back. And so it's very cool to learn under her. And so she has been a huge mentor in my creativity.
Absolutely.
It's called Make It Out Alive. And Make It Out Alive is this intersection of personal power and personal growth and purpose and relevant topics that define our future. So a little bit of food, a little bit of personal growth, and we get in and get out.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. Do you know Jerry P. Beasley does like to get something out of you, and she's gonna make sure
you don't want to talk about it. She's gonna find a way to make you talk about it.
Look, you got me making an ugly face about that too, because I'm like, dang, that was something.
Go into that. No, she didn't go into it.
He pokes the bear, man. You know, and it's all love for Jerry P. Beasley, man. I got acquainted through my girl Ivory and her friend Toya. You know, they helped me get to Jerry P. Beasley because I was, you know, about my podcast in St. Louis, and it was like, well, you would probably be good to over at KCOH and meet with Jerry P. Beasley. So I did. Been on her show a few times, and I'm like, I like what I see here. Like, I see potential growth that can happen not only in the community but around the world. You know, when she mentioned this KCOA, she mentions it as a global network, not just locally. So that's what the key was for that. And I'm like, hey Jerry, whenever you want to call, I'm here. I'm ready for this. I think I might have got a co-host to go along with it. I think so. I think so. We'll see. Got Dominique.
You guys have to see the future holds.
Yeah, let's see what the future holds. I got Dominique Hinson with me right now. She is a lawyer and legal instructor. She's like, you haven't talked about law yet. Trust me, I'm getting to it right now. All right. So, Miss Hinson, how did you get into law? Is that something that you've always wanted to do?
Very stubbornly. I've gotten into law very stubbornly. So my whole family, they're all in the medical field. My parents, my sister, and I knew I always wanted to be a lawyer. I was one of those kids who knew very early on what they wanted to do. I really loved journalism and writing as well, and I didn't know how that would fit in. I think I'm just now exploring that part of my passion, but I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And I was one of those students and kids who's very mouthy, always have something to say, always gonna have something to say back. And so for me, it felt like it was just very in line for me. And my mom did not want me to be a lawyer, which probably pushed me there even more. She wanted me to go to pharmacy school, and I'm like, girl, I can't count. You know, I'm like, that's not me. I can talk. I can do that. I can argue. And that's what I do now. And so I've been a lawyer for the past 8 or 9 years. And eventually started my own practice a while back. And now I teach students. And so the same kind of skills that have helped me in the courtroom, I develop in young people. And that is very dope. But yeah, that is how I got into law. It's been a whirlwind, to say the least.
Yeah, that's interesting that you do that, and considering yourself as a Black lawyer, and then you're talking to students about that. And I know you have some Black students that are trying to become lawyers. Like, the relationship with them, how are you, trying to get them ready for where you were at one point?
I think that anytime you are dealing with like an intentionally marginalized community, right? Like a Black student, Hispanic students, whatever the case may be, the number one thing that people need is to see somebody who looks like them or who does not look like the norm to get themselves there. So I think the number one thing that I provide for students is that I'm there and that I am very authentic. I am exactly who I am all the time. I don't mince my words. I'm very honest with them. And so I think the number one thing that students get from me is that in a space where they are not used to having that. And it's important, you know, like think about when at any point that you were in school as a young Black child, like how often did you try to find somebody who looked like you? And that be the first safe landing place you have to then be able to acclimate to this new space. I've always thought that you need people who look like you. And it doesn't mean those are the only people you can turn to. It doesn't mean those are your only allies. But when you're talking about what you're comfortable with and something brand new, it doesn't matter. You can't tell me you're not looking for somebody who looks like you or that you can empathize with, who you can connect with, who can empathize with you. And I do. This has been I just finished my first year now working in academia, and it is really special to see. It's special to see all the students because I see myself in all of them. But I do have a special place for any Black students that I work with because I see myself and I see my struggles and I see the growth that I went through to try to transition into a really an area of like a professional industry that really has not met all the needs of diversity yet. I think that law schools do a great job of being diverse, but our practice does not. It is very separated, right? Maybe in a lot of government positions, you see lots of lawyers that are very diverse, but you know, the more affluent, the more renowned, the fancier the job, the higher the floor, the less Black people are, right? And so being able to even help students get those opportunities if that's what they want and figuring out how to be comfortable there is so important, you know. I was telling my director recently, we were talking about hosting some professional events and some cocktail events. And I remember telling him, I was like, you know, the first time I went to one of these, like we had a casino night. It was my second year of law school. And I'd made it onto the mock trial team. We had a casino night, and it was with former alumni and current students. You know, you wear a little cocktail dress. You know, you go down there. That was the first time I'd ever done a professional soiree. It was the first time I'd ever been in a position that I had to network that way. Those are critical moments. How do I dress? What do I wear? How do I move in this world that I'm not really attuned to? You know, my parents, like I said, they're nurses, so they're not, you know, a bunch of cocktail hours. It's not really their world. And so being able to help shepherd students into their next season of life is really dope for me. Like, I can help you put on a suit. I can help you figure out the cocktails. I've done it so long now that I can help you with that. And those little moments are like very defining for us.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Talking it over with Dominique Hinson. He's a lawyer and legal instructor right here on the A Train Show. Hey, I'm gonna put a pin on the mock trials. Pin on those because you just mentioned that. But you gotta know something. You're not originally from Houston, are you?
No.
Where are you originally from?
San Antonio. I'm from San Antonio. Shout out to San Antonio, Texas. Big military place, if you didn't know it. So my parents moved there right before I was born. My dad was in the Air Force and he got out, but I'm from Texas, from San Antonio. My parents are all from Queens. My parents are from Queens, New York. It's from most of my family is from New York. All my family is from New York. So my sister and I were the first generation Texans.
Okay.
I grew up in San Antonio. I've been here now. This is my 11th year in Houston. So I kind of feel like a Houstonian. But I think San Antonio is deep in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
You can't
Deep
get
in
that
the heart, huh?
You can't.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
You have the Tex-Mex there. You can't get that imprint off you. It's in you.
Okay. All right. Hey, I'll take your word for it. I definitely will, because I'm looking for something like that anyway. I ain't gonna lie, I do like the taco trucks and stuff around the area. You can't miss one, tacos everywhere. But
I think Houston does not have a lot of Mexican food. I don't think so. So that is the difference. San Antonio is a lot more Hispanic.
Yeah. Even though I see them everywhere,
I know.
Especially on.
That's true. From St. Louis, it's probably way more than you're used to.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Because. So yeah, and especially driving down 45 when I see these individuals in these trucks, and they're flying down 45, the most dangerous highway on the planet. I will put 45 up against anybody, even Chicago, and definitely in St. Louis, the Interstate 70. I'll put that up against anybody. Yeah, but if you can make it there, hey, I literally will put $100 in somebody's pocket if you don't cuss, if you don't give the finger, if you don't say anything negative to any driver that cuts you off and the way that they cut you off. I'll give you $100 if you stay on 45 and you do that. You have to take yourself doing it.
Since we're talking about 45, when I was in law school, it was my second year of school. It was the summer between my second and third year of school, right? It's only 3 years. So I'm in my last year. I'm doing my internship. I was interning at an oil and gas company, so it's way off 45. And so I had to take 45 north to come home. Is it north that comes into the city?
South.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure. Okay, I'm taking 45 south. It's Houston in August, so it's right now. So it's hot. It's hot. It was one of those rainings where it's just raining enough to make it hotter. It's not cooling anything off.
Yes, I hate that. But go ahead.
I'm driving a like an 02 Dodge Stratus. She's about 10 years old. And, her name was Janet because she was old like Janet Jackson, but she was still fine. And the AC was out. So here I am. I'm already driving about 45 minutes with no AC. It was hit or miss. I could turn on the AC and it'd be cool for a while, but then it just was air. And I'm driving down 45 about 5:30 p.m. 45 south. So I'm on 45 south at 5:30 p.m. That's really all you need to know. But I'm going down 45 south at 5:30 p.m. in the rain, and my brakes stop working on the car. I'm trying to brake, and the brake is not braking. And that was the scariest. That was the last day I ever drove that car. I think I tried to get the alternator, whatever it is that makes the brakes go. Tried to get that fixed. I had to use the e-brake. Nothing ever worked. And that was my Houston nightmare. Being out 45 south at 5:30 p.m. and your brakes don't work. And the AC is already out.
You ready to AC?
In the rain, your AC is off. You want to open the windows, but you can't open the windows because it's raining. It was a nightmare. And it's like, so shout out to those were really great years.
I feel your pain. When I was in St. Louis, I had a 97 Ford Taurus, and that AC ran out. And so I used to hate days. It snowed. Then my heat went out.
See, we don't have those snow problems here. Give me that.
Yeah, you ain't got that. So yeah, you don't have to really worry about that. But imagine it being cold and you don't have no heat in your car and you driving in that. So you try to put a little heater inside, plug it in, and try to get some heat to generate, or you're wearing like 3 coats so you can stay warm, and then another pair of pants on top of the pants that you're wearing, and then you bring all of this in. Oh man, it was a nightmare. Now, you talk about nightmares.
We go through
then
no.
That was 6 months of you thought hell had frozen over. That's how bad you thought. So it was that bad. But I get it. But here in Houston, 45 is still a dangerous intersection. Like just this past weekend, I saw a 4-car pileup, and I'm like, you have to drive fast and you have to be impatient to survive out there on the road.
Yeah.
That's that part. So that's what you learn.
Do not use your blinkers if you want to change lanes, because that's gonna make, if you use that blinker, they gonna not let you in. So you might as well just. But that's why you have to learn to boss hog. That's what I learned to use. You gotta boss hog your way through, and you have to make room, and you gotta let me in. Let me in.
Yo. And that's what they do. And that's one thing that you got to understand when you hear, and you got to drive at least 10 to 15 miles over the speed limit. Okay. But they don't. They'll go 30 over the speed limit. All right. I'm revealing all the secrets. I don't care today. They would do that. 30 miles an hour over the speed limit. It's 60. Oh, and don't go down 99 or don't go down 99 or anywhere tollway that's like 65, 70. That's a 60 going 90 or maybe 100. So you got to be prepared. I just got to be prepared for that. Talking it over with Dominique Hinson right now, right here on the A Train Show. We just going in a bit about living in Houston, but also I want to go back because I said I want to put a pin on it. Though you had mentioned about you guys doing mock trials. What is that setup like for law students?
My passion. Okay, so you have mock trial and you have moot court. Mock trial, it looks like it mimics what you would see like on Law and Order SVU, right? You've got a judge, you have your jury, someone's presenting an evidence. There's witnesses on the witness stand who you're asking questions, and you're doing direct examination or cross-examination. And so our program, any mock trial program, you have a number of students, you have a number of competitions. Competitions are hosted by different law schools, and they make up a problem, they make up evidence, you practice it, you go compete in it. Moot court is it mimics the trial process. Moot court mimics the appellate process, right? So we've already gone through the trial with the judge and the jury, and someone has rendered an opinion, a judgment, a verdict, something, depending on what type of case it is. And now one party is trying to appeal it. So when someone is appealing something, an opinion from a lower court, when you appeal, you don't go through the same trial process. You don't go through the same process with the judge and the jury again. You go through an appellate process. And that's where my passion lies. My passion much more lies in the appellate process. And so students who are moot court, which is what I spend most of my time on, that mimics what you see when you see the Supreme Court, right? So you've got a panel of judges, Supreme Court, yep. 9 judges, and you have one attorney who stands in front of those judges and is presenting an argument, and the judges ask them questions back and forth, and the judge can ask you anything they want. And so there's a level of preparedness that the lawyer has to do to anticipate anything that could be asked, be prepared to respond to any argument, and each side gets to do it. And so that's really where my passion is, more so in moot court. It's I want to say it's more academic. I'm sure any mock trial would fight me about that, but our day-to-day is a bit more, you're reading a lot of case law, right? You should rule in my favor on this because of how this other court previously ruled. It's like, right, Roe versus Wade and all these cases that came up, those are all appellate opinions. And so I work with students on those type of cases every day. So my passion really lies in helping people find their voice and be comfortable presenting an argument,
So have you had any of the mock trials where it got like super heated to the point where they almost wanted to come to blows or anything like that?
Yeah, all the time. And it doesn't mean, no, you don't get to the point of like reaching over the table, but sometimes you feel it enough. Something that makes our program that I work at one of the best is we work hard. We work nights, we work weekends, we work for weeks on end. And when you put in that much work, You really, but even though it's not they're not real lawyers. And their judges are not real practicing judges. They're not sitting judges. They're usually lawyers who are volunteering their time. You care about how you've prepared, and you care about how somebody treats you on the other side. I think the biggest time somebody like me wants to jump over the table is when somebody accuses me of lying. That doesn't happen very often, but you see that where lawyers will make the argument more personal, right? And maybe they accuse another lawyer of doing something. I think that incites anyone in our profession, because your reputation is everything, your honesty, your character. And so, if it gets real scrappy and people take it a little too personal, you can feel it, but even fighting for your client in general, although it is not always, I want to get across the table on this person, it is a fight. And so when you see lawyers in trial, if you see lawyers in court, part of the stress that you're taking on as an advocate, right? Someone speaking in court on behalf of somebody, is you are standing in the shoes of someone who cannot speak for themselves, right? They cannot speak up on this topic. They cannot purely advocate and defend themselves and what they think. That is an emotionally taxing job. There's a point that you start to feel the weight of your job, right? I am your voice. I am the one who has to present this. I want to be the one to fight this, but you're going to be the one to live with it. And that's a very tall ask, and it is a very honorable place to be in, to be able to be trained and do that, and let somebody trust you. But people feel the weight of that. So sometimes and the thing that you're doing while you're speaking for somebody is fighting another person, right? You think you did it. I think you didn't do it. We got to go to blows. So even though we may not be in blows literally physically, what we are saying is that you're wrong. I spent all day, you're wrong, I'm right, this is why, this is why, this is why. It's gonna get catty. It's gonna get the word we use is litigious, right? Litigation. I think that is to battle. And so when you get very litigious, you start to fight each other, because even if you're very cordial, it is still the other guy is wrong. Agree with me. At some point, it's hard for people's present sense to not get in the way. So they become very emotional. Is
it, do some of them try to get like on television, like like Law and Order and like the courtroom shows and stuff, try to implement that into their style or something? Or are they just like zero in focus, like, okay, this ain't TV, this is real life? Do you have some to try to pull in the fictional stuff into the mock trial?
Yes, but not necessarily mimicking like SVU or things like that. But when you are a trial lawyer, you're a natural storyteller, right? And so depending on who the lawyer is, you can see lots of theatrics, because you are telling a story and you're trying to convey somebody and persuade somebody at the end of the day. And if God forbid you're outside right now and you're pulling out of you're pulling out of the driveway and you hit a rabbit, and this was somebody's precious rabbit that is now smushed, and they can now make a really cute, remember those little rabbit tail keychains, you leave them a souvenir. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why that came up, right? But like, let's say that's all they're left with is this one little, this is it, right? If I'm the lawyer defending that guy, when I go up there in my closing argument, I'm bringing all that in. This was Lakeisha's most prized. This was her confidant, her bunny. Every time that she woke up and had a hard day, she looked at that bunny who would hop on her lap. And I'm bringing the rabbit tail. I'm bringing it in. I'm gonna let everybody see it. And so, yeah, you can get very theatrical because, you're asking people for $10 million, but to give them a show. You got to persuade the jury. And there's a level of storytelling that captivates people. A lot of lawyers, when they prepare, do a lot of improv. There are some of the best trial lawyers I know who are pastors. So you'll see a lot of the same overlap in things that you hear in church that you hear from trial lawyers when they're in court. I had a student who I was teaching last semester who was much older, a second career law student. He was like, and he's a pastor. He's like, they're making it sound like they made this stuff up, but we use this in church all the time. And I was like, because it's storytelling, right? A lot of times that alliteration or those triplicates, right? Awareness, absence. I don't know why I can't think of another A. Right? When you hear those kind of cadences that you hear people say in church that kind of have that sing-songy rhythm, a lot of times we use that same sing-songy rhythm. But it's based on persuasion. How do I persuade somebody, right? The first thing that you were ever told as a child was a story. When you went to bed at night, somebody read you a bedtime story, right? First things you learn how to read are stories. And so stories are so much a part of who we are, and we can buy into stories. And so there's a level of advocacy that is so much about conveying a message in a way that is persuasive and it hooks you. So you're gonna see all kind of theatrics. And that I think that's just natural persuasion. Yeah.
Dominique Hinson is joining me right here on the A-Train Show. She is a legal instructor and a lawyer herself, and she was giving some great insight of those that are law students, well, especially on her perspective, what you may see in a potential mock trial. And, that's good insight for those that, want to be lawyers and are looking to do that type of thing. Like, everything ain't just what you see on SVU and whatnot. There are a whole lot of components that get to a mock to a trial, and so kind of have to get yourself prepared for it. You can't do it like how the actors do it because they're acting. But like you said, there are theatrics when they are at a trial, and that's compelling. That's really compelling to know. I'm gonna step outside of the lawyer's box. Like, what does Dominique do when she's away from the office? Like, what is her, like, late at night when I'm like, okay, I'm about to shut it down. And so what is Dominique doing? I'm shutting down from the office. So when I'm like, okay, so now I'm about to rest, relax, whatever. What is Dominique doing?
Well, not often am I relaxing, but probably jumping into my own creative endeavors, which is probably not like the best answer, but you have to find time to do the things that are important to you. And I find a lot of that time when I'm off work. And so that's a lot of the time that I work on Make It Out Alive, and plot through content creation, pump myself up through the levels of imposter syndrome and perfectionism and things that tend to plague people in their creative process. That's me. Is
that me?
That's me.
Oh, okay.
That's me. I deal with it all the time, which is just a growth point. It's just something new for me still. It's something that I don't always feel a groove in. And I think that's something I speak about more because I think everybody has it in some part of their life. Mm-hmm. And it's easier to, I don't know, I think that the monster under your bed, whatever it is that you're a little nervous about or procrastinate through or don't feel sure about, it's a little easier when you hear other people say it. And so I try to be very honest about what creativity is for me, which is often a little too stressful. Maybe social media, right, makes you feel like you need to be perfect. And so I work through a lot of creative stuff. I've been binge watching a lot of shows lately.
What's the main one that you're watching?
What have I been watching lately? I just finished Stranger Things season 4. Okay. Do you watch Stranger Things?
I have not gotten into, that's one show I have not gotten into.
You gotta get into it though.
All right.
It's not a kid show. It's not a kid show.
Oh no, I know it's not a kid show. Oh, I know that one. I know that one wholeheartedly. It's not kids. I know. I just haven't watched it. Yeah, okay, I haven't watched it.
I just finished that recently. I'm like not wanting to say P-Valley, but I've definitely been binge watching P-Valley.
Don't be shamed if you watch P-Valley. Don't be shamed, man.
Oh, I just finished binge watching P-Valley, Bridgerton. I've just been on silly stuff.
A lot of Christians watching P-Valley, so don't start there.
Down in the valley.
Listen, one show that I did, since you mentioned it, I was impressed with this past year was The Game. They brought The Game back, and it's on Paramount Plus. And it is not like,
I didn't know they brought The Game back. Like the sports stuff with the
the football show. Yeah, they brought back with Carol Robinson and Hosea Chanchez as so they brought it back it was like 10 episodes, right? And the past season, I think that one season solidified what they did in the last 9, because it's way more dramatic than what it was. I mean, it was over the top, in my opinion. This is my opinion.
The last one or this one?
This past season, no, the past ones, not this past one, not this season that just dropped, but like beforehand when it was on network TV, I thought it was a lot over the top. Yeah. This one, it was more dramatic, like what it was supposed to be all along. Like more drama, less sitcom. It was more of more detailed issues. You know, mental health was played in there. Health as in for players themselves, you know, and you know, decision making and stuff like that. It was a whole lot better than the previous 9, and I think they did a fantastic job with it. So if you check it out, The Game on Paramount Plus is a fantastic series. I think the last thing I had binge watched. Oh my goodness. You don't laugh. I was watching Oxygen Killer Couples and stuff like that. Don't laugh.
I can't get into those. I know a lot of the girls like those. Like,
I couldn't either. But a certain so-and-so, God rest her soul, that remain nameless, will watch it every single night. Like every single night, that's what was on the TV. And I'm like, you couldn't help but watch and hear some of the stories about these couples that was doing strange stuff. And I'm talking about like, wow, you can watch that on Peacock right now.
Yep.
Bel Air is another one.
Bel Air was good. I didn't finish it. I'm like maybe like 6 or 7 episodes in, but that's so well done. So well done.
It was. See, people don't really understand. It's like, well, why did they take a dramatic turn? And you know, it's not the sitcom. That's the point. This is a whole new story that's based around that. What's the word I'm looking for? Universe. Yeah. It's around that Bel Air universe, and it took a great dramatic turn. So that means you probably.
I don't think I've hit enough drama yet.
You haven't seen When the Father Came Back, right?
No. Maybe I gotta go back to that.
There's a whole lot of things you haven't seen. Hey, shout out to all of the alumni that have been featured on the show. You know, I think Vernie Watson Johnson, who played Will Smith's mother on the show, was on it. Daphne Maxwell Reid, that played the second Vivian, is on the show. I wanted to see Will pop in on the show, but I don't think he's going to, especially after who you see with the family. All right.
And I'm laughing as I ask you a question because I was having coffee with someone this morning who also has a podcast, and he was like, "It's always fun to have podcasters on because they ask questions back." How do you feel about Will Smith's recent video from last week with his apology?
You know what? I have not seen the video. I knew that he apologized, but to that extent, I'm like, why did you wait so long to do it? Why didn't you do it right away? Like, what were you processing when you decided to make this video apology? A lot of times, it wouldn't have mattered to me because the damage was already done. The act looked, in my opinion, it looked staged. Like it was like he staged that. Like that was something that came into mind and said, I'm going to do that at the moment because I know what he's about to do. I know what he's about to say. And they've been friends for a long time. A long time. Like Chris Rock had been on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It goes that far back. And you're gonna sit here and tell me that now, and I know they've had jokes about Jada and probably have laughed at him behind the scenes, but now that it got publicly, you decided you wanted to go up there and smack him, and then the way you did it, like you wouldn't have did that to The Rock. You weren't gonna do that to him.
No. He definitely knew who to do
apology. You know what? I'm not gonna even watch the apology because you could have did that long beforehand. You could have did that behind closed doors and said, Chris, I'm sorry for doing that. Like, everything now
he said he tried to reach out to Chris and that Chris wasn't ready to talk to him. Some critics say that they call BS on that because they're like, well, Chris Rock is keeping with Dave Chappelle and all these other people making jokes about Will. So how is he not ready for his apology? And I'm like, I don't really know. I don't have any strong opinions on it, any of it, to be honest. It's foolish behavior that I'm like, you're not going to get it right. You already slapped the man on stage. So whatever you do, you're not going to get it right. I really don't feel like you're putting this out for at this point out of remorse. I think that he publicly apologized to like Chris Rock's mom and I think his sister. Some people had come out and said, that they were hurt by it. And I think in that sense, it's good. I think that there is like an ideology that however you disrespect somebody in person, you can be just as loud about your apology in person. So like maybe he was thinking that. Okay, again, I'm with you. You should have done that 2 months ago. What do I care? You
could have did that long ago, man. And
we could have been done that. We could have been done that the week after. I don't really buy the like I had to process through it all these months. I'm hesitating because I'm like, maybe what you're processing through is the underlying issues that you and your wife had that led you to go up there. But I don't think that you're processing that you slept with him. You two had your relationship.
You know who's laughing at this whole thing? August Alsina. He's laughing at this whole entire thing.
I saw a meme yesterday because you remember yesterday was August 1st. Somebody said, it was a meme of Jada and it said, did somebody say August? I thought that was hilarious.
Listen, he had been sitting back and he's sitting back like this.
Better you than me.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, the strong opinion with that is, how did Jada get away with that?
Very unpopular. Unpopular opinion. I've never really watched Red Table Talk, and I'm never going to be anti-Black women out loud. There's too many things I could be anti in life to be anti any Black woman. Yeah. But but I will say nothing about the previews I've seen have ever felt. They never pulled my heartstrings enough to watch it. There are people who have said things like Jada's an narcissist and that I wouldn't even know because I don't watch it. But the level of sincerity or authenticity that I feel like I move with and that I really look for in people, I don't feel that. Why? If you were a real woman, you would have said something about it too. He went up there in your honor, and the one response you make is, "This is between two different men." It was about you.
That's what I'm like.
He's defending your honor.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. And you've been silent. So.
Well, she wasn't silent, but that's what she said. She said something like, this is between two men, and this and that. I'm like, you can't throw your husband under the bus after That's what Will was working through. Not that I made. He's like, I made a play of myself. My wife could not even cape for me. You're not even gonna stick up for me. You're not even.
That's what made me think of when he appeared on Red Table Talk, and the meme that and he's sitting there like this the whole time, like he got a down face,
yeah,
like why are we here? Like, why are we doing this? Like, we could have did this privately, and you want to put it all out there because now it's public. It's for the public to see. So, and it's still like it's half-hearted, man. I mean, Will is a great actor, man. He's a great actor. He is good for people. He's giving people opportunities and stuff. But when it comes to his personal life, dog, it seemed like a miss. It seems like it. I'm not saying it is. It just seemed like it. And yeah, the whole thing with the apology, I don't care too much for it. You know,
didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I threw my hands up on it. But yeah, that's how I look at things like that. And you keep going, man. At the end of the day, Will is going to do what he does, and Jada's going to do what she does, and Chris is going to do what he does. You know, yeah. A lot of people are affected by it, but at the same time, man, it's like we're done with it.
Yeah, we get so much information. People are going to rebrand, move forward. You know, if Donald Trump could be president and he was a rapist, you're going to be all right. That's my answer to everything. So sorry. That's actually my answer to everything. You can move forward. People will forget. The country forgot. Right.
But you know,
that's my answer to everything.
Oh man, this is wild. Like for real. Like this is really, really wild. Where we at now?
Yeah.
But before you go, tell all our viewers and listeners where they can find you on social media.
Okay, you can find my podcast, Make It Out Alive, wherever you stream podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever else you listen. It is called Make It Out Alive. You can find me on Instagram at Make It with Dom. I am Dominique Hinson. Come listen. From here until the election, I plan on devoting my time to election stuff, to purpose stuff, to mental health things, because I think we are in a unique time in the world where those things tend to go hand in hand. And so follow me on Instagram at Make It with Dom. Go click and subscribe and follow the podcast. We'll have new episodes soon. And I love having conversations. I hope that you come on live with me. I would like to do I'd like to do some Instagram lives in the evenings. Pick the topics. I'm gonna pick a couple important things. We could kiki about a bunch of things that aren't that important. But
hey, I'm game. I'm game for whatever, man. You know, listen, I'm on IG too, so hey, let's just let me know. And hopefully I ain't at work. I know. Yeah, we'll talk about it after the show.
Whatever times work for you. They can be evenings. They can be whenever.
Bet. That sounds good. All right. Well, definitely discuss it with you. Well, thank you so much, Dominique. You gave me gave a lot. You gave a lot of insight and definitely had a little bit of fun to go along with it. And you're always welcome to be a part of the A-Train show and as a guest. So come on back. Don't be no stranger.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Ladies and gentlemen, Dominique Hinson, legal instructor and lawyer. She likes that. And definitely wrap things up for this edition of the A-Train show. So for just a little while, make sure you go to facebook.com/A-Train show. You can follow me on Instagram at the A-Train show, and you can find me on YouTube at the A-Train show as well. All right. So for just a little while, this is the A-Train signing off. The train is on its way out of here. Catch you again for another edition of the A Train Show.